What inspired or what got you into commerce stream?
I'm the eldest daughter of my family, so I did not really have. I think Gen Z really struggles around it. Phone, mobile, is all these distractions coming around.
How would your usual routine look like? Let's on a weekly basis. How would you study?
I had the textbook open in front of me and I was trying to study and I was not studying. Lots of students suffer with lots of things right now. Mental health wise, anxiety, depression, everything.
Did you read textbook in detail or was it just a quick scan?
You can't go back to that 400 pages book every time.
And we are back with a brand new episode in our ongoing podcast series of success stories at Finstead Education. In this one, we have Nirmiti Savant, one of our success stories in CMA program who passed both the parts, part 1 and part 2 in first attempt with an exceptional score of 430 in both parts, 430 in part 1 and 430 in part 2. But Nirmiti is one candidate whose story is shared as an inspiration, as an example with all my students, and there's a reason behind it. Let me share a small story around Nirmiti's hustle to success wala phase. After completing CMA, Nirmiti's CV was added in a database which we pitched to different companies. There was one company in Pune that was mainly into US based accounting. So when we pitched her profile, she was eventually shortlisted, and along with her there were two more candidates who were shortlisted. So all three candidates were taken for first round, second round and third round. Unfortunately, by the time everyone reached to third round, in either of the rounds, they were rejected. Some were rejected for, let's say, communication skills, some were rejected for not up to the mark domain skills, and so on. Now, out of all these three candidates, only Nirmiti reached out to me saying that, "Sir, what went wrong? Do we have any feedback from the HR?" I had a word with the HR, and the HR said that there were some questions around Power BI which were not properly answered by Nirmiti. Now, after getting to know this feedback, what Nirmiti did was she reached out to me asking for the trainer's number. That, "Sir, can I build some projects? Can I improve my skills for data visualization? That would be useful in my next opportunity." Now, this is where a candidate's approach is observed, that even after facing a failure, you are ready to improve, you are ready to work upon yourself. And this is something that I emphasize so many times, that when you complete CMA, that's not the end. Rather, this is the beginning of your journey. Now, after this, one more thing that I observed was majority of the candidates just sit back and relax. We are doing placement assistance for you, but this is not expected. Placement assistance means we are taking your CVs to different recruiters, different companies, but at the same time, you can also try from your end. So Nirmiti was one such candidate who actually tried a lot from her own end as well, reaching out to different companies, applying to different companies. There's a complete 30-minute training that we give in-house on how to apply for different jobs. The intention behind overall training you on this is the same. Reached out to different companies so that when we work collectively, it is even more effective. And this resulted into Nirmiti's next interview shortlist. That was with a company called SwissRe. Now, SwissRe is a giant in insurance industry, based out of Switzerland, has multiple offices in India. Now, once Nirmiti was shortlisted, she shared the JD with me. We had an in-depth conversation around how to prepare, how to approach, how to negotiate, and number of things. She gave the interview, she cracked the interview, and now she is placed in the same company. So I hope this overall podcast, this overall conversation gives you insights into two things. One, how to prepare for US CMA, what should be your study strategy, how to be motivated, how to set a discipline throughout your journey. And second, once the CMA journey is completed, what should be your next move, how to prepare for your next move, what mentorship, what guidance is required, and what is required from your own end as well. So all the best if you're preparing for CMA, and I hope you love the conversation as much as I did. And this kind of motivates you, inspires you to put in more efforts in your overall scope of career. Enjoy the episode.
So Nirmiti, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Okay. So starting with, let's say, your introduction, why don't you introduce yourself for our audience?
Yeah, so a few words about myself. Hello, my name is Nirmiti Savant, and my story begins from small town of Chiprun. There, I completed most of my schooling and my junior college. Later, I moved to Mumbai to complete my graduation, and I recently got my degree in bachelorate for BMS and with finance as my specialization from MCC, which is Mulund College of Commerce. Later, along with that, I completed both parts of US CMA certifications, and currently I'm waiting for my license, which requires 2 years of professional working experience. So currently standing at the threshold of the corporate world, I'm genuinely really excited for the transition from learning concepts to living them, and really apply all the financial analysis, management accounting, and strategic thinking in the real business decisions. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, sounds exciting. So, Nirmiti, going back to the beginning part of your journey, let's say you have completed your 10th or 12th and you decided to start your career in commerce. What inspired or what got you into commerce stream?
It was basically, I did not really have anyone. I'm the eldest daughter of my family, so I did not really have anyone to guide me or tell me that if you get into this course, you will get to learn this. If you get into this course, you'll get to learn this. And all of my cousins are sort of different backgrounds, not of this industry, which I was trying to get into. And later I had to research everything upon myself, and later as I was researching, I found out about BMS, which gave you a leverage of that. In second year you can choose your specialization, which is you can choose from finance, marketing, and HR. So I thought I have kind of time to sort of explore myself for first year, and then later find out what I'm suitable with. Do I want to go? And it really helped me direct or like decide that yeah, finance, I want to go in finance, and finance is for me.
Okay, interesting. So, after deciding that, let's say we get into finance. What all professional certifications did you explore? And after researching those certifications, what made you choose US CMA?
Oh, that is actually a really interesting story. So I had one goal that I want to at least complete one certification, be it CFA, FRM, and I did not really know anything about US CMA. The culture and the college where I come from, there also no one knows really what US CMA is. I think I was the first one to introduce them to this thing, US CMA certification. And what really happened was I did my research in first year and second year of my college, that what really I want to pursue, where really I want to go. And I chose CFA at that point of time. And CFA has those rules and regulations that you can't really give paper at this time, and then you can't really take too much gap. So I decided that I'll start my studies in third year of the college. So I really was laid back and was focusing only on my college studies, first year, second year, and extracurriculars. Later in third year, it was the situation where I went to classes, everything was finalized, just payment was remaining. And I also called my parents, like within 1 week we have to pay this amount, so keep it ready. And so during that part, I got call from my friend, one of my best friend from Chiprun. She was also doing her graduation from Mumbai, and I got a casual call from her saying ki I was talking to my CA the other day, and he said you should do US CMA, and there is this certification, you should do it, you can do it along with your graduation. And she had this talk with her CA like month or 2 months ago. So till then she had done all the research, and she explained me what is this course, what is the duration, what is the exam structure, what is the exam pattern, everything, and also classes. She also introduced me to all the classes. Like I have also researched on all the classes that are right now in the market, and I really like this one, the Finstead especially. She said that I really like Finstead because they are willing to give the demo lecture, and I attended the demo lecture. I really liked it. So I'm not pressuring you or anything, but just check it out. And I think later on I took a week for myself, and I did my research on US CMA, and still I was skeptical because I was thinking about CMA nearly 2 years of my life, and switching to CMA in just 1 week was not easy for me. It was very hard, like am I taking the right decision? Will there be any scope? Nobody really knows about this. But then again, back of the mind, I had this one thought that I always wanted to do something different, something unique, something other than what people are doing. Like people are going, nearly most of the people we see doing CFA, like pursuing CFA, So yeah, with that thought, I decided to attend one of your demo lecture, and there came a segment where you explain the difference, only one difference between CMA and CFA. And listening to that difference, I was sure after that yeah, I want to pursue CMA.
Now, before going ahead, I have a message for you. I'm on a mission to build India's #1 institute for US CMA. So, if you're someone who's planning to pursue US CMA and want to be part of our success story, want to give me a chance to build your career, then do consider Finstead Education for pursuing US CMA. Here, the learning is based on real life applications, case studies. Secondly, there is a dedicated student success manager who will track your progress. And third, the placement model is inspired by IIM Lucknow's placement structure. So, placement mentorship plus placement assistance will be taken care by our team. So, if you want to pursue USCM and have any queries around it, you can visit our website to book a call with our experts. Or if you want to join our next batch, you can directly call this number and book your seat. See you in class.
Because I would like to go into product related industry rather than going into investment banking, and the scope of CMA is larger than CF and everything. Learning after that, I really got the clarity that I want to pursue US CMA.
Okay, that is actually an interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay, so please pass on regards to your friends who recommended this to you. And coming back to this comparison, so actually this is one query that I get a lot, because I teach at multiple colleges either as a guest faculty or I take workshops and other programs. So one question that I usually get is, sir, CA versus USCMA or CFA versus USCMA. Now, in terms of understanding or in terms of how the course complements each other, because some of the students from your batch only, for example, Zarir, now he has switched from, so he completed CMA, now he's doing CFA.
Yeah.
So even during his call, he's asking me, sir, is there even any potential benefit? So I explained that the streams are different. One is investment management. You will work mainly into banks, mutual funds,
Yeah.
equity research, and so on. But if you want to work in a business where costing is required, audit is required, because costing audit is not covered in CFA. So if you want to get into, let's say, a more manufacturing service kind of setup where FP&A or reporting, controllership, these are the roles you're targeting, CMA is a much better fit. But now there's a trend of both certifications coming together.
Yeah.
Think of a role where you're a consultant. So as a consultant, you are an expert and you're talking to a business. So when you're talking to a business, one part is you should know the business. Second part is you should know the investment side of things. So that's I think evolving combination in the market. But I still recommend that as a fresher, please just do one certification, then get a job. Once you start earning, once you get into corporate, then it makes more sense to add multiple certifications. But again, this is my subjective opinion. So continuing with your journey, so you decided to go ahead with CMA and your friend recommended FinStreet
Yeah.
to you. One interesting thing around the demo lectures, a lot of students don't know how FinStreet actually started. So when I started FinStreet and I was, working towards getting my first ever student, I was very active on LinkedIn, and one of the students just reached out to me that, I want to pursue CMA, what should I do? So I just gave him a simple, I would say, request or a challenge that I'm starting, my CMA first batch. Why don't you give me 1 hour of your time? I'll give you a demo lecture one-on-one, and I'll challenge you that you won't find the quality of teaching that we have over here. He attended that lecture, he was very happy, and he onboarded us. So yes, demo lectures helped us a lot, and glad that helped you and your friend as
Yeah.
well. Coming to the CMA journey now, so how did you start your preparation part? Why did you specifically went for part 2 first instead of part 1? And how was your journey overall for part 2?
So deciding part 2 was like I decided to go with your guidance. You said that part 2 was little bit easier, on the easier side, and when you transition from part 2 to part 1, you really understand that what you were trying to say. At that time, I truly understand that yeah, it was really beneficial for me that I learned part 2 first and part 1 later, because one thing about part 1 is it is very vast, and one of the advantage I like to explain is in part 2 there are few concepts in part 1, but in part 2 those concepts are like really explained in detail. Like for example, the remeasurement and translation, that thing, foreign currency, and people or like students generally fear those concepts, forex, foreign exchange. So if you're doing part 2 and you're learning those two concepts in depth, and then you go to part 1, there is just mention of those concepts. You don't really grasp what those concepts really are. So yeah, being a student who has already cleared part 2, I knew already what those concepts were, and I was helping people in doubt solving session that this is remeasurement and this is translation adjustment, what this means. So yeah, on that spectrum it helps.
Yes, that is actually an excellent observation.
Yeah.
Because now that I've mentioned, I can clearly recall remeasurement and translation is explained in part 2,
Yeah,
but it is mentioned in part 1.
it is not at all explained in part 1, and it is really hard for students to
Students to
grasp.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay, glad to know that. So you started with part 2. Let's say you relied on my this thing advice. So after starting part 2, let's say if I had to talk about your usual week routine. So moving to the preparation phase, let's say we had to talk about the time management part. How would your usual routine look like? Let's on a weekly basis. How would you study?
So basically, my routine was little bit different because that time I was really early student because I joined in 2024, but I started my studies in 2025, like early 2025. But then there was not really, like, the lectures were weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, and lectures used to clash with my college timings, and the college were really strict about attendance a little bit, and it was like last semester and everything of my college. So I studied everything through like recorded lectures, because that time it was not the facility that lecture would get uploaded in half an hour. That time used to take nearly 1 day or 2 days at the times, and then it used to disturb all the flow, and you are not able to take weekly tests. It used to really stress me out. So I was like, let it be, keep it aside. And from start to end, all the preparation I did through recorded lectures. I did not face any difficulty because maybe I am that kind of student who never gets any doubt, because if someone is explaining me anything first time, I get it. So maybe that's why I could easily do it through recorded lectures. I don't really recommend it because everyone's learning phase, learning style, learning capacity is different. But yeah, recorded lectures worked for me, and so I went with my own routine. Whenever I used to get time, I used to jump onto next step, like lectures or solving or reading. Yeah, like that.
Kind of things. Yes. Just to add more context, what she's referring to. So long back when we used to take our lectures, we used to manually upload it on our website, on our portal rather, and it used to take a day or two. Now we have added an automation, so once the lecture is over, automatically in 30 minutes the lecture is uploaded, and that was one feedback. Second feedback that I'm getting now is in the recordings there are a lot of Q&A interaction, and not everyone is interested in that. So now we have started editing the lectures. So 6 months down the line, you will see lectures where there is very minimal Q&A. So those who like recordings can watch it without any issues. But yeah, those who like Q&A, for them there will be the raw recordings as
Yeah,
well.
like the people who are just watching for revision, they don't want the Q&A.
Q&A.
part. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this was your weekly routine. Coming to the learning process. So you watched video recordings. Did you read textbook in detail, or was it just a quick scan? How many questions did you solve? How many tests did you appear for?
Oh my god, reading textbooks, trust me guys, is like best thing, like one of the most important thing you can do, and it is one thing that you will hate most during your preparation, because those are like 400 pages textbooks which are like not really interesting, and reading those are gonna be like, I don't want to read this, but you have to get through it. So one thing I did, and I would suggest everyone that they should do if they are starting their preparation, is you can't go back to that 400 pages book every time, and you don't want to go back, trust me. So when you're reading, after you have watched any kind of lecture, so you are clear with concepts, so you start reading, you connect the dots, right? So even if it is a student or even if it is a working professional, you are comfortable with some concepts and you're not comfortable with some concepts. So it is my suggestion that you make notes, because it is really important. So making notes depends on the individual. Like how I used to do is, I used to write everything. Like I had 2 books for each part. Like I had full, like I had long books 2 books full for each part. I had 4 books full of notes.
Handwritten notes.
Yeah, handwritten notes.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to go back to that textbook, and where am I going to find what I'm trying to find? Where am I really going to find what I'm trying to find in that long textbook? So what I did was, in my notes, I used to make sectional notes, unit-wise notes. So keep your focus on making unit-wise notes. Whatever is heading, even if I knew what the concept was, like I was learning about it in the college for years and years, I used to still write the heading of the concept. And the concept which was totally new for me, the heading and the meaning. So, and why notes? I would say that during the revision, so that's really interesting. I revised my notes for like 8 to 10 times. So because I revised, so basically what I did was, I revised whole curriculum for 8 to 10 times.
Okay.
Because I had everything written in those notes. So because I had written the heading, when I used to read, suppose I'm revising and I'm reading something, it had no context around it, just the name of the concept. I'm reading, so I revise in my mind what that concept really means, and do I really know what that concept means in clarity. If I don't know, I'll go back to textbook and Google and other stuff, and I'll try to find more about that concept. So coming down to your 7th, 8th attempt of your revision, you are almost clear about all of your concepts. So yeah, so that's why taking notes is really important, I would say. And yeah, the notes also, I used to take 2 to 3 days to revise.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not like you take the notes and you can complete it in 1 hour. You can complete a section in 1 hour revising.
Okay. Maybe to add more, context to what she's saying. So Nirmiti completed her part 2 in June and next part immediately in October. Now, ideally, when someone completes their first part, whichever part 1, part 2, their first exam in June, I never recommend another exam in just 3 to 4 months, unless it's a student who's doing exceptional hard work, and she falls under that category where she has pulled it off. So it's an exceptional feat that you have achieved by passing part 2 in June, but immediately in part 1 you have passed in October.
There are like so many tips and tricks I had to use along the way.
That is my next question. So what are all the tips and tricks which our students can use for passing exam in such a short duration?
One thing that I've learned personally during this examination or any kind of certification, no exam is like hard or difficult. It depends on how much you are prepared.
Excellent.
Like if you are prepared like 100%, you will find the paper really easy, because part 2 was my first exam, so that like my memory is really blurred. But part 1 was said comparatively hard, and I really have trust issues on myself, so I gave like 200% on part 1. I did extra and really extra on my part 1, because I did not want to like have, so like when I went to my exam, I went with the thought that passing or failing is not important. But then the one reason that I lacked in my preparation should not be the reason I failed the exam. There can be anything like luck factor or any other thing, but lack of my preparation is only one thing in my hand, and I don't want to fail in that. May I fail the exam, but I don't want to fail in this. So that part I had already covered. Like I was really nervous around it, so I covered it. How do you really prepare? So one thing that I've found is really important is not studying but being consistent. Like it doesn't matter you study 3 hours or 5 hours, it matters that you study daily, which I really think is important. And for that, I think Gen Z really struggles around it. Me being a Gen Z and student on the top of that, we really struggle around it. Because we have low attention span, then procrastination, then everything, phone, mobile, is all these distractions coming around. And I actually faced all of those. I actually joined in October, but then I started studying in January. So that was the reason for it, that I started pushing it. But then I was, so in January, I was kind of done with all those extracurriculars, the events, the fest, and the trips and everything. And I thought, this is really the like time, like now or never. If I don't study now, I'll not be able to study like anytime soon. And then I had textbook open. I'll tell you the story, what really happened. I had the textbook open in front of me, and I was trying to study, and I was not studying. I was procrastinating at that point of time. And then I started talking to one of my friend that I'm procrastinating, and then he was like, yeah, I'm facing the same problem too. You know what, Nirmiti? We both need external accountability. So what is external accountability? External accountability is something that you give your responsibility or accountability to someone else. So if you have something on you, you will keep pushing it. But if you have responsibility of someone else, you will do that task in a great manner. Is kind of a human nature. So it is basically that you keep your daily goals, you communicate those goals at the start of your day, and if you don't complete those goals at the end of the day, and you give the proof that with whatever I have told I have done, you face a punishment. And back then, being a college student, you're not really earning on your own, and it really feels guilty to like waste parents' money. So 100 rupees was really big deal for us back then, and that 100 rupees kept us going a long way.
Okay. So to summarize what you mentioned, that you guys created a group, you were posting your daily progress.
Yeah.
You had a target. If the target is met more than 80%, you are done for the day.
Yeah.
You have 20% leeway. And let's say if it's less than 80%, then you have to pay your counterpart 100 rupees.
Yeah, which never really happened.
Okay. Now coming to frequently asked question by students. So one question I get is, sir, how many mock exams we should give? And after that, one is around essay, and now the exam pattern is changing to case-based questions. But we'll discuss the essay part from your experience. But starting with the first part, how many mock exams did you appear for?
So yeah, again, another interesting story for that is part 2. I was really new to whole environment, so I was following all the instructions given by you, like all the instructions, and so I appeared for 5 mocks for my first exam. But then we had that success panel lecture, the meeting, success
Yes.
panel meeting, and then people were saying I
Are
gave
you
10
talking
mocks,
about-
I gave 7 mocks, and I was like,
Yes.
oh my god.
So just to give context again, what success panel she talks about. So when one batch passes and next batch is going for the exam, so we help them connect over a call to discuss what is expected in the exam. And now it's like a master lecture that we allow all the students to watch. It's there on the YouTube, you can watch it. But yes, going back, I can recall there were so many students who said 7 mocks, 10 marks and so on.
And then I was like, am I falling behind somewhere in the competition that I'm having around myself? So I kept in mind this around part 1, and part 1 was on a little difficult side for me. I actually appeared for maybe 7 mocks for
7 marks,
part
okay.
1,
Okay.
2 extra.
And on an average, what was your mock score? Was there any specific mock exam where your score fell drastically?
No, it was kind of consistent. For part 2, it was between 80 to 85%. And I mean, even if I was not really locked in and I did not really care about time management, which happens if it is your first or second mock, you take that time to like really lock in. But I think it was like because probability basis that I was on same level, 80 to 85%, that was my bracket. And in part 1, it was like 75 to 80%.
Okay.
Yeah, and I tried really hard that why am I getting 75%? Why not above 80? Sir is saying 80 is the margin. If you are 80, then you're good to go. Then why I'm not getting 80%? And I was really stressed about part 1. But at the end, it did not really happen that I could not go above 80, but I did not go below 75 in that. So it was the range.
Okay. No, that's a good score to have, and consistency shows that there are no gaps in your understanding. I always push students to be on higher end, so 80 is a benchmark that I give. But going back to how I built my thought process around this, long back when I was sitting with Brian, initial periods of Finstead, and I was trying to create a formula because major thing is students don't want to waste their exam fee. It's an expensive one. So what can I do to assure them that you are ready? Please go for the exam. So this way, Brian gave me a very simple formula that Aditya, if in Hawk mock exams, if a student is scoring more than 65 or 70, the student is good to go. But if I look at the passing marks, out of 500, you need 360. So 72% is something that was stuck with me. So I couldn't allow students to just score 65 or 70. Now Brian was saying that the Hawk questions are much more difficult, but I have the experience other way around. Some questions are similar, but some questions are actually more difficult than Hawk. So in that case, I decided let's keep 75 as a benchmark. But when students started scoring somewhere around 72, 73, it became a dilemma. So initially we had only green flag and red flag. Now you must have seen we also have a yellow flag.
Yellow.
So yellow flag is, you're somewhat there, but you're on a thin ice. So that time now students take call if they are on this category, but above 80% students are fairly safe. Okay. Now coming to last part, that is the essay section. How did you prepare for essay section? Any tips or tricks you can give for the students who are going in May, June with the essay part?
So for essay section, again, I was pretty comfortable around the format because we have that in college. Like the first question is case study, and it is not really like find from the paragraph. It has the normal questions where you have to write the answers on your own. So I was pretty like comfortable with the format, but then it is really, even if you're comfortable with the format, I think it is really important to like solve the case studies. At least do like, if you're like bored to do all 30, at least do like 10 to 20, because it is not about how much you know, it is about how much you can type and how much you can, even if you know the concepts, framing it in a good way and then executing it and then typing it, it takes really time. If you may think that, yeah, I'll do it, nothing, I have good typing speed, but I think you should test the waters and like uh, keep yourself in the simulation and try. If you're able to do it in 1 hour, then it's fine, the board case studies. But as I was starting, it took me like 1.5 hour for one case study, and then I knew that I really need to work on this essay part. And at first I tried doing like 3 to 4 case studies in a day, and 2 case studies really used to exhaust me, and then I used to not able to do the studies that I had planned on day and I was going on with. So then I switched to doing 2 case studies or 1 case study each day, and then typing it. I said this earlier, but you can do is I color coded my document. I kept the document because then I revised it one day before exam. uh, the document was color coded. Like if I had taken like all the logic and all the answer wrong, is to color it in red, and then below that I used to paste the correct answer which was expected. So while you're skimming, you really know where you are lacking and where you're not lacking in the logic part, and then you learn little by little how they are expecting the answer and how you are supposed to write it. Because one thing is, theory questions are easy to write, but then the calculations you need to do lot of spaces and then is equal to plus minus, so it takes a little bit of time. So yeah, it's good to practice.
Okay, so there you go. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
Okay. And last word of advice. Let's imagine that you have a younger sibling who is preparing for US CMA. Any overall advice, general advice you would like to share?
Rather than CMA, lots of students suffer with lots of things right now, mental health wise, anxiety, depression, everything, and nervousness before exam and everything. So regarding that, one thing that I have learned, I mean, I'm not really that age, I am not really at that age to advise anyone anything, but one thing I've learned up till now is it is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to being in wrong. Like it's fine, you're just 20, you're just 19. just take the decisions. It may be right or wrong, you can move on. You may think that, oh my god, if I don't do it now, I'm a total failure, but you can always start again. There are people who are like 40, they start at 40 and then they become millionaire. So I keep saying it to myself that even if I fail today, maybe I'll become 70 one day. I'll start something and I'll get millionaire by 71. So I should not really consider myself as a failure, and I should keep trying and trying and trying. So yeah, one failure doesn't define you anywhere. Like wow, something that is important is you should understand and you should really think that making mistakes is okay. What is not okay is not learning from the mistakes and repeating them again and again. So if you're making that mistake one time and you are really learning something from it and going ahead, starting something new, because when you make a mistake, you are in wrong, you learn a lot of things. So if you are taking good teachings from them and then you are moving forward from that, I think it is okay, and you don't really have to pressure yourself, because maybe you failed that exam and you couldn't clear it in your first attempt, but something, someone or the universe was trying to teach you something, and that one failure would teach you a lifelong lesson that would take you ahead in your career. And even if you are like 35, you will recall that one lesson and you'll know what to do. So yeah, maybe sometimes those things are necessary. So you should not really stress about that self. You should not really stress about that thing, and just be okay in being wrong as much as you're okay in being in right.
Okay, that's actually an amazing advice. Now, it might sound like an advice for someone who has actually failed the exam, but in general, I think one part you can understood or focus on is do not pressurize yourself. I think I'm catching the crux of it, and this is something again I always keep in mind before going exam. I mean, this one exam is not going to define your whole life or your career journey. It's just part of the process. So always, maybe let's say plan for next 10 years, and in this 10 years your focus should be on enjoying the journey rather than where you reach at the end. And as she said, you can start at 70 and become millionaire at 71. That's always on the table. Okay, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast, and all the best for your career ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me today and giving me this opportunity, because I used to watch all your podcasts, but it used to come, a thought used to come to my mind that I'm not really ever gonna be called, because all these people who appear in podcast are like, they have really big careers and this interesting, like everything, their journey, that if they call me, what am I really gonna say in the whole thing? And then I got a message from Shreya ma'am, and she said, are you willing to come? And it was New Year's, so I was in that zone that they are New Year's and I'm not really gonna block any opportunity that gonna come in my way. And but I was really skeptical and nervous that what am I gonna say, what am I gonna speak about. There is nothing like career wise or professionally, I have never really done anything, but yeah. So but then Shreya ma'am said, अरे आदित्य sir है ना, वो संभाल लेंगे. So yeah, I came with that one thought, and finally meeting you in person was really like exciting for me, because all our interactions, whole my journey was like online and virtual, we never really met. And I may have never told you this, but getting a guide and mentor like you was one of the best things that happened to me in 2025. And you may not know it, or you may not realize it really, but you make a really big difference in my life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really struggle at taking compliments, but thank you. That was such kind words. Thank you so much. Really means a lot. And coming to the podcast part, there's an interesting story behind this. So long back when I was in KPMG, I had this vision of getting great leaders, CEOs, CFOs of the company shoot podcast and share knowledge with the world. I shot around 4 or 5 episodes, very expensive. Okay? You are getting a big guest. It has to be a big setup that they need. And when I released those podcasts, and I actually talked to my viewers, there are few subscribers. You are part of the community, right?
Yeah.
So I had similar community for my just subscribers as well. They give me a feedback that Aditya, you know, these guests are 20, 30 years ahead of us. We feel a disconnect when we, you know, listen to their side of the story. We want someone who's, let's say, doing something or achieved something that we are doing right now. They are struggling with things we are also struggling right now, so that it becomes a relatable journey. So we took a cautious call that okay, let's share success stories of our students, and hopefully they'll help all the career aspirants who are building a career in finance. So with this, we'll take your leave. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like the video, don't forget to press thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe. As usual, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.